Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Oxnard Live. I'm your host, Daniel Chucks. As we continue to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, we turn to our nonprofit organizations right here in Ventura County and seeing what they're doing to support our community members. And our guest tonight is no difference, representing an organization that has been part of Ventura County for the past 43 years, serving families, thousands of families over the years, is Food Share Ventura County. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Jennifer Caldwell, who is the Chief Development Officer for Food Share right here in Ventura County.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. I know you guys are probably extremely busy right now during this pandemic, but I did want to showcase you guys and share with people that the great work that you guys are doing right here in Ventura County. Again, you guys have been part of the county since 1978. Over 40 years. That's exciting. So tell us a little bit about Food Share. How did it get started? Its history, its mission, and its ultimate goals.
Yeah, well, thank you, Daniel, for having me. Our history is actually super. I love telling this story because it's very interesting to see where we came from. And it's kind of unfortunate that we're still here, that there's still a need 43 years later. But we're fortunate enough to still be able to serve the community in what we're doing. So we actually started, it was a group of volunteers led by Joel Petty, Virgil, and Lynn Nelson. They actually would follow the tractors behind in the agricultural fields. They would follow them and glean the excess crops that the tractors didn't pick up. And then they would take that food and they would deliver it either door to door or to our homeless friends under the bridges. And that's literally how we started. For those of you that know us and our history, food in Food Share used to be all caps because it stood for food on our doorsteps. That's how we started, was delivering food door to door. And now here we are 43 years later with 37,000 square feet of warehouse, 36 employees, almost I think 25 trucks, and feeding about 150,000 people a month here in Ventura County. So we've definitely grown, and the pandemic, as you can imagine, has definitely impacted us and made us grow even more so since April. So we're just, again, and it's unfortunate that we're still here and doing what we're doing, but we're very fortunate to have an amazing community that supports us in our mission.
That's awesome, and I'm assuming that you guys are not still following behind tracks, picking up food, right?
No, we've grown in that aspect as well. We have amazing relationships. As you know, we live in an incredibly rich agricultural community, and we have great relationships and partnerships with all of the farms who are very generous with their excess crops. So we're lucky that they kind of do that for us now and then kind of just donate the pallets to us. But yeah, those are the good old days. We still do some gleaning with some backyard and like orange trees, fruit trees. We have a volunteer team that goes out to pick those crops. But yeah, no more tractors.
So the ultimate goal for Ventura County Food Share, it's to ultimately end or address hunger, right? Or
we want to put ourselves out of a job. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And I think any food bank across the nation can say that, right? Is we want to put ourselves out of a job. That is the ultimate end all be all goal. But I think that if the pandemic has taught us anything, that it's such a trickle down effect, right? There's so many other factors and barriers that would need to be solved or accomplished in order for then hunger to not be an issue anymore. And we have great relationships with many organizations all around the county that address different needs, whether it's mental illness, job loss, whatever it may be. Our focus is obviously feeding the need, not necessarily solving the need right now, because at the end of the day, as much as we want to shorten the line, our job first and foremost is to feed the line.
Wow. Now, you made a mention in regards to volunteers going to people's backyards, picking some fruits off the trees. Now, is that something that is regularly done? Like, I have an orange tree, my neighbor has an orange tree. If we call you guys up, somebody will come and start picking the oranges? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a small gleaning crew that goes out to people's backyards, and as we also have some great private orchards. We have a family here in Camarillo that has 200 plus trees that we go to twice a year with a big group of people and pick. So we can either come to your house and glean those crops for you, or if you pick them, then you can come donate them to Food Share as well. And they all go out right to our agencies to get out to the people that come for food. So it's just another great volunteer activity for those of you that like to get outdoors and get your hands dirty gleaning. It's so much fun. It's such a great activity. But it's also good to know that if you do have those fruit trees in your backyard that are abundant and overflowing, we can take it.
Awesome. Now, the food share organization, it's a little different than, or let me back up. Explain the process of food share and how exactly it gets its food, its products to be able to distribute it to the community.
Yeah, so Food Share is the food bank of Ventura County. We're the regional food bank, so we're the only one. And the reason we're a food bank and not a food pantry is because we're actually not a direct feeder. So picture kind of us as the Costco. We're the hub. We're in charge of either purchasing the food, receiving the food from either government or outside agencies, people that do community food drives. I'm sure if you have children in school, they've done a food drive for us before. All of that food comes to us. We're in charge of housing it, storing it, keeping it safe. We go through it and we make sure we check expiration dates and make sure the quality of the food is good. And then we kind of sort it, and then it goes out on the line for our agencies to come and shop. Now we have 190 different agencies and pantries that come and shop with food for us on a monthly basis, and then they take it back to their brick and mortar where they then distribute it to people in need. So that's kind of the biggest difference between a food bank and a food pantry. We've had to change that model a little bit because of COVID. We've instituted pop-up distributions. We call them pop-up pantries all around the county. We're almost going on a year now. We do 6 of them a week all around the county, where we give a box of shelf-stable food as along with some produce. So we've changed our model in that aspect, but we still rely heavily on our agencies and pantries all around the county to get the food out. We do purchase, I used to say we purchase a small amount of food. That has drastically changed. We're spending between $300,000 and $400,000 a month on food purchasing right now. The biggest reason for that is there's not that much out there for us to rescue anymore. So people aren't doing as many food drives anymore, with schools not in session, businesses not, working from home. Not a lot of people are doing food drives for us. And then we also rescue a lot of food from the retail stores. So every single retail store in Ventura County, Vons, Albertsons, Ralph's, Food for Less, Target, Walmart, Trader Joe's, all of them, when they take stuff off their shelves, it's still good. It's still shelf stable food. So that it then comes to us where we then sort it. But as the media well pointed out in the beginning of the pandemic, shelves were emptied rather quickly. So that didn't leave a lot for us to then pick up and rescue. So we've just been having to purchase a lot more food than normal to be able to fulfill the increased need. So basically at the end of the day, our job is the food people. So whether we have to buy it or source it or find it, whatever it may be, we get the food in, so then our agencies can get it out.
Now, how does it work now with COVID? Like you mentioned, there's no food drives occurring. Schools out, businesses. Every year, there is the county's canned food drive Christmas trees that they do. We didn't do that this past December because of COVID. How does that change the dynamics with the amount of food that is able to be distributed?
So, and that's just really, we've just kind of had to pivot. So we're actually distributing double the amount of food we used to before COVID. And that's just because we've been having to purchase a lot more. So we buy in bulk, and that's why we say for those that can't do food drives because they're not at work, we're encouraging people to do a fund drive instead and raise the money. We can take the dollar a lot further. So you could go into a store and buy a can for 99 cents, where we actually would be able to buy 5 of those cans for 99 cents. So for every dollar that you donate to Food Share, we're able to turn it into $5 worth of food. So we buy in bulk. We have great relationships with food manufacturers because we've been in business for 43 years. So we're able to take the dollar a lot further. But people still love to do food drives, and they aren't non-existent. We still do have some amazing people out there that are doing food drives for us. They're basically contacting us knowing that we need the help, and they're offering, how can we help? We have a couple big food drives that were canceled. As you mentioned, the canned tree drive, we didn't cancel it, but we definitely had to pivot the way we had done it in years past. So we definitely didn't get as much food in. And then every May, you may remember, it's the National Association of Letter Carriers, the Stamp Out Hunger Drive, where your letter carrier will put a bag in your mailbox, and then you fill it with food. And then that, the second Saturday in May, they'll come and pick it up. And that brought in over 200,000 pounds of food. That was canceled last May, and we're anticipating that it probably will be canceled this May again, for the safety of the postal workers and everything like that. So we're encouraging people, if it's not a fund drive, please do a food drive. Our agencies love that food that comes in. It's a really great variety.
I can honestly say that I commend those postal workers
Yes.
for those bags, lifting them up and on top of their mail bags that they're already carrying packages. And so it's to be able to add another bag to that, I commend them for their hard work and being.
I've worked at an event for the last 5 years now, and I got to tell you, they drive in and then they get out of their car, and they're just exhausted, but they're also they're satisfied, because they know that even though it was just, one day a little bit different from their normal job, that they made an impact. And they open the back doors of their postal vans, and it's just jam-packed with food. And we have volunteers that unload the car, because no way would we want the postal workers to then have to unload what they had to load. But definitely extra kudos to them for going above and beyond normal weather conditions. It's like during rain, sleet, snow, and food drives. They definitely do it all.
You mentioned that there's over 100 different pantries or food distribution brick and mortars. Now, is that spread out throughout the entire county, or is that in select locations of the county? How does that work out?
Yeah, we cover every inch of Ventura County, from Simi Valley, Moore Park, Agora, Westlake, all the way into Ojai, Miners Oaks, Santa Paula, Fillmore, Piru, Ventura. We cover every single city in Ventura County. And all of the information is on our website. So it's foodshare.com/find help to find the pantry nearest you. You don't have to live in the city of the pantry location. You can go to any single pantry that you need to go to in Ventura County. But we definitely have the county covered. And there's a variety of different sites. We have just regular pantries. We have soup kitchens that serve hot meals. We also have closed sites, boys and girls clubs that do after school snacks and that sort of thing, group homes, that sort of thing. But yeah, we have a location nearest you. We try to make sure we have every inch of the county covered as best as possible.
Now, has any of those distributing hubs, have any of them closed since the pandemic has started?
Yeah, and that's what brought our pop-up pantries. Is right when the pandemic hit, we had about 25% of our pantries closed down, mostly due to they were volunteer run, and they were, in that 65 age category where they were needed to shelter in place. So that's when our pop-up pantry model started. Is we needed to all that for those pantries closing, we didn't want to direct all those people to other pantries and overload them. So, okay, so let's do some pop-up pantries in strategic areas throughout the county, so to relieve the pressure off other pantries. And that's kind of how it started. We kind of started in Oxnard and in a couple dense areas, and then it just grew. So we're in Ventura, we're in Ojai, we're in Oxnard, we're in Moore Park, we were in Thousand Oaks, we're in El Rio. So we definitely move it throughout the county as much as possible. But that was the goal of the pop-up pantries, was to relieve the pressure. Some of those pantries have reopened, some have not. And we've also gained a few new pantries along the way too, which is very helpful. We have a lot of people again, that reach out to us, how can I help? And it's like, well, so you have a brick and mortar, you're able to store food, you're able to do it safely. You have volunteers that want to come assist and help. So open a pantry and help us get the food out.
Now, because you guys are a nonprofit, there's certain rules that you guys have to follow. And because you guys are like the umbrella for Ventura County, you guys have restrictions as far as what you guys can spend your guys' funds on as far as what types of food to buy, or is it kind of free range?
No, it's free range. But what we do is we actually listen to our pantries so they know the clients best. So we're not going to go out and buy fettuccine Alfredo sauce when they want regular pasta sauce. So we pull our pantries, we ask for their advice. We also learned that a lot of them want culturally appropriate food. So we've been buying menudo and masa to be able to distribute to those locations that have people that want more of that product. So we definitely just we focus on the staples: rice, beans, pasta sauce, pasta noodles, peanut butter is a big one, to make sure that we can get the good protein out to them. But we also make sure that we're buying things that if you, Daniel, needed food, you would go to one of our pantries and be like, oh my gosh, I would see this on the shelf in the store and eat it. You know, it's one of those things that I would never purchase anything that I wouldn't eat myself. So we don't really have any restrictions in terms of what food we can and can't purchase. But we definitely make sure that we're doing it for the needs of those that are eating it.
Now, because it's a nonprofit, is there any funding coming from the state or the federal, or is there any donations as far as food products coming in from the state or the federal government?
We have a great relationship with the California Association of Food Banks. They cover all the food banks in California, and they've been doing a great job at making sure that they can secure either funding or food sources for us to keep the food within California. But we do have a government program, and it's USDA funded. It's our senior kit program. So those provide 4,000 boxes a month of shelf-stable food to our seniors throughout Ventura County. So that's a great program. You can more information on that, foodshare.com/senior, to find out. It's for age 60 or up. You can qualify for that. But otherwise, all of our funding for when we purchase food is all private. It's organizations, individuals, foundations. That's the only government funding we get is through that USDA senior kit program.
Now, during this pandemic, your organization, have you guys noticed that maybe you guys are running out of food before everybody can actually get some? Or have you guys have a fairly decent cushion that everybody that goes to these pop-ups or to these pantries are able to get their food, and then you guys look at it and you go, man, this is all we have left. We need to desperately replenish our supply.
Yeah, don't put that bad juju out there, Daniel. Oh my gosh, we haven't hit that yet. But so we were worried that we were actually going to hit what's called a food cliff, because we are one of 200 food banks in the nation that is a part of the Feeding America network. And so my CEO, myself, are on calls weekly, kind of just seeing. We're basically trying to find this magic crystal ball that's going to tell the future, right, of how long this is going to last. But we've been hearing that there was a possible food cliff, because not just food banks, but retail stores are buying food in massive quantities from manufacturers, right? So we were worried that, you know, we bought it all the first 6 months, and then we were going to run out of food. But it's not really a food cliff that we're seeing. We're anticipating a possible financial cliff, right? So right when the pandemic hit, the media kind of put food banks on the map. We were really kind of highlighted as a first responder, so to speak, in terms of helping with the pandemic. And so we got some amazing community support from organizations and individuals and foundations and everywhere in between, right when COVID hit. And so now we're worried that, okay, so now that the media cameras are gone, the news reporters are gone, but we're still doing exactly what we were doing on April 1st. So we're starting to see a bit of a decline, which is worrisome, because we still are feeding the same amount of people that we were 9 months ago. But that's just where my job comes in, my CEO, Monica White, of just informing the public that we're still here, we're still feeding double the amount of people, we're still distributing double the amount of food that we were before the pandemic, and we still need your support. We're projecting about 24 to 36 months out now of being able to sustain this rate. But we've got an amazing staff and an incredible volunteer force that is just so nimble. They've been doing these ebbs and flows with us. So we're very fortunate.
Now, I didn't mean to throw that juju.
I know.
Knock on wood, just because it's like, obviously I don't want none of that to happen, because you guys are definitely up there with our first responders, our healthcare workers. You guys are essential to our community right now. Our community, many of the members are turning to you guys, turning to these other distributing sites for that food to be able to provide for their families. So uh, I'm fortunate right now that I haven't had the need, but I know of people that had to take that opportunity to reach out to either you guys or one of the other ones. And, you know, I'm just happy that you guys are around doing what you guys are doing, especially right now during this pandemic. Um, you mentioned 36 employees. And to think to be able to package everything, to distribute it to over 100 different distributing locations, and then, you know, this pandemic, how does that even work? How does 36 employees even match up to be able to do all of that work?
Every single one of them were superhero capes, I tell you. They're absolutely incredible. But I definitely commend our staff, but second to that is our volunteers. I don't even want to say second to that, right on the same level as our volunteers. We have over 400 volunteers on a monthly basis that come in and help with a multitude of activities. Last year we had I think over 3,500 volunteers. That was equivalent to like 15 full-time staff members that we could never budget and afford. So volunteers are definitely our lifeblood. And then we were also very fortunate right when the pandemic hit that the Air National Guard was dispatched to us, and they're still with us. We have them at least through the end of September still. They're the ones that are really helping us box those emergency boxes that are going at our pop-up distributions. We're distributing about 4,000 of those a week. So they're helping box those among other tasks. But the Air National Guard, along with our volunteer force, has just been instrumental in us being able to step up during the pandemic.
Now, with these other distribution sites, I'm assuming they have volunteers for their distribution sites. Have they reached out to you guys and say, hey, you know, we don't have the people to be able to distribute. Can you send some volunteers our way?
Yeah, so our pantry network, again, that's who we rely on. That's who we were before the pandemic. They always know that they can reach out to us should they need anything. And we do that. We absolutely help them with volunteers should they need it, above and beyond just them getting food from us. So we're absolutely a resource for them. I mean, without them, we couldn't get the food out. That's exactly our model is so we do whatever we can to support them.
So I had the privilege back in 2019. This was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was part of the Oxnard Leadership Academy. We had the opportunity to visit Food Share, see the operation, the layout. It's very impressive on the square footage and how much product is there waiting to go out, and the donations that are coming in. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys even established a little garden somewhere on the property to be able to.
Not little anymore. It's quite large.
So I also know that you guys had like these little competitions between volunteer groups. So two questions. One, are you still taking volunteers at your guys' location? And then two, is Ventura Credit Union still #1 as far as volunteers?
All right, I see your real motive behind this, Daniel. Don't worry, a pandemic or not, we're getting you in and we're gonna put you to the test. But no, absolutely, we've definitely still kept our doors open to volunteer activities because we need them. We cannot continue distributing the food without them. But we've 110% increased our safety protocols. So we definitely make sure that you're masked and gloved, your temperature checked when you walk in, and then all of the volunteer stations are 6 feet apart. So we definitely take all safety precautions, but volunteering is still open. And it's inside and outside. We have activities for both. The garden that you mentioned is our Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, VC AAA Senior Nutrition Garden. It's huge. It's probably quadrupled in size since you last visited, Daniel. It's absolutely incredible. And we have so many different crops that are being harvested right now. And they, once they get picked, they go right out to our seniors that get those shelf-stable food. We make sure they get some great produce as well. And then, like I said, all that food that comes in from the retail stores or people that, bring in the food from the food drives, we have to sort it. We have to make sure that it's not expired, the no cans are dented or damaged in any way, and that takes volunteers. And that's a really, really fun activity and highly competitive. Now, I don't know if Ventura County Credit Union still holds the #1 spot, because it has been a while since we've done any type of competition tracking, especially because a lot of our corporate groups aren't, since they're working from home, they're not really able to gather right now. But it's a group of 6 minimum, 15 maximum, and it's a 2-hour shift, and it's a real working conveyor belt that the food goes around on, and you box it, and at the end of your shift, we give you how many pounds of food you sorted, which equates to meals. So that way you can kind of keep track for next time, just to see if you can beat it. But we have a lot of similar industries. I don't want to say credit union to credit union or bank to bank, but that are a little competitive in that space, but all in good fun, because they know that they're giving back to the community.
I'm going to say this. I am going to create an Oxnard Live team, and we are going to go. We're going to be the first podcast web show. Go over there, and we're going to beat out everybody, okay?
All right, I'm going to hold you to it. We're live. This is recorded. Live. I'm going to hold you to
it. No, I think that's great, to be able to do that. And, it allows an opportunity for people to give back to the community, as well as have fun doing it. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought right there. So distracted about the competition that
I know, it's okay.
So distracting. Now, the biggest thing that you want people to know is what exactly? Their food donations, their monetary donations, their time. What is it that Food Share really wants to convey to people that want to help and assist?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing for me right now is just to know that our services are available to anyone and everyone. I don't care if you got a paycheck today and you need food, you come and get food. That's what we're seeing a lot of right now, is not unemployment. We're seeing a lot of underemployment. It's people that have had the opportunity to go back to work, but maybe it's not at the level that they were before. Or maybe that they ran through their savings, so now they really are living paycheck to paycheck. And I just want people to know that it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter if you have a job or not. It doesn't matter if you have reliable it does not matter. If you are struggling to put food on the table, Food Share is here for you. And that's really the biggest thing that I'm just trying to get out into the community right now, because there should be absolutely zero shame in using our services, because it's not, the pandemic is not anyone's fault, right? It's not your fault that you lost your job. It's not your fault that you're living paycheck to paycheck. All that matters is that you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your family. And if Food Share can be of assistance to that, I don't care if you use this once a week, twice a week, once a month, once a year, it does not matter. It's there for exactly how you need it. And that's really the biggest thing that I want to share is please just, we're here to help.
Now, if people don't have a means of transportation to get to one of the distribution sites or the pop-up pantries, how do they get what they need?
Yeah, so 2 things is, one, send a friend, send a neighbor. We don't ask, we do for our pop-up pantries, we do ask for ID, but it's just to show proof of residence in Ventura County. So that's all that we need from that. But otherwise, 211 is another great resource to call. 211. They have some great resources for those that don't have reliable transportation or aren't able to get out to a food distribution. So I would use those 2 resources. But if you don't have transportation to get out to one of our distributions, but you have a neighbor, a friend, a colleague, anybody, please send them for food and they can pick it up for you.
Now, what is the process for, that big old glare just...
Where did that come from? I'm like trying, oh, there we go, okay.
It just came out of nowhere. Now, the process, the steps, I know you said you're checking IDs, you're verifying that they're residents of Ventura County, not necessarily like, oh, this is where you live, we're writing down you and we're tracking you. No. But what's the process after that? They just come as many times as they need to. Are they showing their IDs? Is that a universal thing to all of the network, to that you have to show an ID that proves that you live in the county, or is that just something that's happening at the pop-up?
Yeah, just for the pop-up distributions specifically, we do ask for either ID or some type of proof of residence. It could be a utility bill showing that you live in Ventura County. It does not have to be a photo ID. So that's what we're asking for those. And then pantries, for our pantry network, it just varies pantry by pantry. Some do request an ID because they do distribute government food. So there is a little bit of accountability that we have to put on that. But it's basically just your name and how many are in your household and your zip code, so we kind of know where you're located and how many people that you're feeding, so we can make sure that we supply that pantry with the correct amount of food each week. But then some just require to know how many are in your household. So it's pantry to pantry specific. Not everyone is uniform. But for our drive-through distributions, all we require is some type of proof, whether it's an ID, utility bill, that you reside within Ventura County.
So you made mention to it that Food Share is a member of Feeding America, which is the nation's largest hunger relief network of food banks. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what perks, if any, come with it for being part of that?
Yeah, so they kind of take care of those bigger partnerships for us. So the reason that we're able to pick up that excess food from retail stores, Target, Walmart, Vons, Albertsons, is because of the partnership that they have with Feeding America. So Feeding America kind of is the hub that takes care of all of those national partnerships, and not just retail stores, but Subaru is doing a big national Share the Love campaign right now, which trickles down to the local Subaru dealerships here in Ventura County. So we have a great relationship with Kirby Subaru in Ventura, who's donating meals back to Food Share for every car sale. So they kind of take care of the national partnerships for us. And then they also do give us a lot of funding as well. So I think the big one that everyone heard about was the Jeff Bezos for $100 million that he donated to Feeding America. Feeding America then takes that and distributes that to the 200 food banks, depending on size. We feed about, before the pandemic, it was 75,000 people a month, but you have bigger food banks in the larger regional areas, whether it's Los Angeles or Houston, New York, that feed millions of people a month. So Feed America does a great job. They're a great partner in handling those larger national partnerships for us.
Awesome. Now, people that are volunteering with your guys' group, is it possible for like students to participate, high school students? Are they able to get credits for it, for college, or, just the service in general?
We're seeing an uptick in students right now, and mostly because they're doing schooling from home, so they have a little bit more time to get out and volunteer and get those hours. But you have to be 12 years of age or older, and absolutely, they've been coming to doing a lot of volunteer work at our pop-up distributions because they're outside, and they're also 30-pound boxes of food, so we need those young muscles to help get those boxes in the truck. But absolutely, we do accept students who need hours for community service, for school, whatever it may be, and we'll sign off on it.
Awesome. Now, you made mention that you have the National Guard with you guys until September. How did that come about? Whose direction did that come that you were able to get that support?
Yeah, it was a federal order that was released then across to all food banks, and we basically were sent the offer. A lot of our food banks up and down California also accepted the offer, and many food banks did. And we're fortunate that we were offered the National Guard, and we said yes right away. We were unsure of what our volunteer status were going to be, and we did lose a lot of volunteers at first. Many just wanted to stay home and were extra cautious, which we fully understood. So we were very thankful to have the National Guard. I think we had about 30 of them to start. We only have about 15 of them now, but still a huge instrument in us being able to meet the increased need.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you as the Chief Development Officer, what is your ultimate role in the organization and working with the community?
Yeah, it's to keep the money coming in. It is my ultimate role, and to make those relationships and partnerships throughout the community, whether it is funding that they want to bring in, or if it is a food drive that they want to bring in, or if it is volunteers that they want to bring in. My job is to kind of connect them. If it's, if it's just donations, or connect them to other people inside my organization to be able to volunteer or do food drives. But we have, you know, obligations to be able to continue to meet this increased need of purchasing food, making sure that we have the correct amount of volunteers to do these boxes and the right programs in place to be able to do these distributions. So ultimately, my job is to make sure that food share remains sustainable in the months to come.
Awesome. Now, if a group or an organization right now wanted to do a food drive, what would be their steps? I know it's a little different now with COVID, rules change. What would be the new steps for them to be able to, one, collect the donations, and then to be able to turn them over to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So we haven't really changed that process too much, because at the end of the day, the food still gets stored after it's collected. And then all of our volunteers who are sorting the food wearing gloves. So it's all safe, but basically they would just contact me. We would get them food drive barrels that we have that they could set up at their location, whether it's a day event or a week long or a month long event. And then at the end of it, they could either then bring the food to us, or we could come pick it up and we would weigh it and give you guys a poundage and how many meals that translates to. But we definitely welcome anybody that wants to do a food drive for us right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am so glad that I had this opportunity to speak with you tonight, and to learn more about Food Share. Again, I had an amazing opportunity to be able to visit the site and to walk the grounds and to be able to see your guys' operation and work. And it's truly an amazing site, and the support from the community is also amazing.
Yeah, we aren't doing too many tours right now because of COVID, but if you're watching this and you get in touch with me and say that you saw this on Oxnard Live, I might be able to squeeze you in for a short little tour of our facility. But it's still a great tour, and I still take people into the freezer. So
Oh, you know what? I will say that the day that we went, it was one of those hot days, and
uh-huh.
walking through that freezer, I just wanted to stay in there. It was nice and cool. It just felt so much better than being outside. But you guys hear that? If you guys reach out to Jennifer, let her know that you guys saw right here on Oxnard Live. She might be able to get you on the tour, but the catch is that you have to be part of my team so we can go be number one during the competition. I'm just saying.
There you go. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Jennifer, thank you again. Any final comments, any final words that you want to share with the public?
No, I just appreciate this opportunity. Like I mentioned before, I wanted to get the word out that we're here. But then I also wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask for one, two, or three of three things, and that's either your time, your dollars, or your cans. We need all three, but each one is special in what you're able to give. So whether you're able to volunteer, donate money, or donate food, we need it and we can use it, and we appreciate the support.
Awesome. Again, thank you. If just real quick, if people wanted to donate money, how do they go about doing such a thing?
Foodshare.com. Just go to our website. Everything's right there on the homepage. All three things that I mentioned, all the information is right there on the homepage. Just foodshare.com.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jennifer, for joining me tonight in this conversation and learning more about Food Share. And just because the news media went away, people understand that Food Share is still here doing the great work that they have done for the past 43 years serving Ventura County. So like she said, volunteer your time, your money, your goods, whatever you can to be able to support their organization, because supporting their organization is supporting your fellow county resident. Again, thank you very much for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jennifer Caldwell, who is the Chief Development Officer for Food Share of Ventura County. Please be sure to join us next week, Thursday, as we have TEDx Oxnard. You guys all heard of TED Talks. Well, this is an independent group called TEDx Oxnard, who will be having their first forum next month, actually. So be sure to tune in right here on Oxnard Live at 4 p.m. as we speak with the organization of TEDx Oxnard and find out more about them. Ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to visit foodshare.com. .com. It gets a little tricky because everyone does org, net.
I know. We're unique like that. .com.
There you go. Foodshare.com. Explore their website, participate when you can, and be part of something great. Help your fellow county resident. And if you want to join the Oxnard Live team to be able to compete in that competition that they have, reach out to me through our website at oxnardlive.net. There's that part.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Be sure to join us next week, Thursday. Jennifer, thank you again, and have a great night. Remember, this is Oxnard Live, all live and 100% real. Good night.